Okay, so we're back with the next lesson in the tutorial series. This lesson I thought fit nicely in with the previous lesson because it's involving painting with textures, texture layers. So I figured this was a good time to cover this before we get into the Street Spline Constructor. I know we've been putting it off for a couple lessons now, but this is important stuff. Let's say that so we painted with rough dirt here. Remember in last lesson, let's say that we don't want to paint with that texture. We want to paint with a different preferred texture that we can't find in under texture layers. Okay, so like let's say we like our gravel roads to be, this is probably the main one that gets switched around the most, but let's say our gravel roads are let's say this is the base map gravel road, and I hate this texture. I only use it for a couple maps because usually, where I'm from, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, the gravel roads don't really look like that. It's much lighter, like limestone gravel roads than that. So, however, this gravel, if for this map, this gravel's gonna do just fine. This is the kind of gravel I will want. But let's say I want to paint with a texture that's not in here. Okay, there's no texture in here that I can use that's gonna satisfy, or that's gonna look like what I want it to look like for the map. Okay, so let's say I want my different gravel texture, for instance. I like to use bright dust quite a bit for my gravel textures, mainly for my Wisconsin maps, Iowa maps. I have a Millennial Farmer, my edit of the Millennial Farmer map pulled up here, and this is the gravel texture I prefer. I like this gravel texture. There are other gravel textures that work as well, but I've been editing this map, and the base gravel texture that they do use is this one right here. And this one works as well. You can replicate this method for any texture that you want to add to a map. But this is the texture I want right now, just to demonstrate. I'm not even going to use it in this map, but for demonstration purposes, some of you really need this, and I think this is really important to learn if you're taking textures from other maps or referring to different textures that you want to add to your map that you can paint with and get the look just right. Okay, so this is the gravel texture for the Millennial Farmer map. I'm going to minimize that. I pulled it up here in Notepad++. Let's see. Okay, so that's, yeah, I already had our base map pulled up. I'm gonna exit out of that really quick just so I can load a fresh version. Okay, so I got the Millennial Farmer map pulled up, and I know that this texture layer, I know what it's called because I can just go down here, texture layers, and I can just find bright dust in here. Bright dust, he actually spelled it wrong. I don't know who spelled it like that, but you can find it in there. And obviously I'm painting right now and it's not changing. If I paint over here, it'll change. That's the texture I want. That's how I know. That's what it's going to be called in the XML. So I'm going to open up the XML here. I'm just going to look for bright dust. Control F. Okay, so there are 4 components to adding a new layer to your map, a new texture layer. Okay, so we have the diffuse and normal textures. That's 2. We need both of those. Those are the actual physical textures. We need the weight file. This is going to tell the map where those textures are painted. All right, so we've been passing by the weight files in our map folder for quite some time, and they're all blacked out right now. Except, oh, look at this, grass rough, and then this little squiggly line. That's rough dirt. You can see that over here. That's it's all starting to show up over here in black and white. Right. Okay, so we need one. There's nothing in here for bright dust. We need to add bright dust. Okay, so we need a weight file. Okay, let's go down here, and finally we need this layer name line. Okay, I've never adjusted unit size or blend contrast or distance map ID. I've never adjusted these. I want to play around with these quite a lot more. I'm sure it'll change the noise, I'm sure it'll change, see how this is it's kind of more of a pattern. I wonder if changing those numbers will change this pattern a little bit, make it more, I don't know. That's something I need to monkey with first, but you're going to need this line anyways. So I'm going to open up our map Let's see, find our map here. I'm going to open this up in Notepad++ as well. Okay, and I am going to go back into that same map file in our tutorial map. I'm going to take, let's take animal mud. I'm going to copy that. Is this the right weight file size? Now, I should note really quick that your weight file sizes matter a lot. I don't know if we covered this in a previous lesson. I'm going to reiterate here. Weight file sizes for those texture layers in a 1x is going to be 2048 by 2048. Okay, for a 4x, let me see. Do I have a 4x in here? Cortland's a 4x. The proper size for the weight files is going to be 4096 by 4096. If you paint in a 4x with 2048 by 2048, your brush is going to lag. You're going to pull your brush across as you're adding that layer, and it's going to catch as you're going across. Okay, it's not going to be a nice smooth brush stroke. Okay, it's because your weight file is wrong. Okay, don't let anyone tell you that the weight files can be different or smaller. They're wrong. They're absolutely wrong. Okay, so we got did we copy and paste that? I don't know, we probably didn't. All right, paste. Here we go. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm gonna rename this. Let's see, what in the in Millennial Farmer, what did they name? So we're gonna take that line anyways. So we're gonna rename this to Bright Dust, whatever this weight file is called right here. I'm just gonna copy paste that. I'm gonna copy that name here. And then I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to, not that file. I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to paste that Bright Dust 01 weight. And I'm going to drag that into here. Okay, so it should show up in alphabetical order, Bright Dust 01. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we got the weight file in here. Let's go back to, let's go back over here. Okay, so let's start with adding the actual textures. Okay, so we have normal and diffuse here, these two lines. I'm going to copy and paste them. Now, notice how this has the $ data at the beginning. I'm going to show you after we do this, after we get this added to the map, I'm going to show you other textures where the reference, the file path, the reference file path is going to be pointing to the map folder instead of the base game files. Okay, those textures are actually like they could be custom textures, they could be, you know, they could be Bright Dust that's just like in the textures folder, something like that. I'll show you what I mean later, but it's going to have a different file path than this. Okay, but since this is and that different file path means the textures are located somewhere else from the base game. It's very important that we change those file paths so that the game actually recognizes here. So Giants Editor actually recognizes that these you can't find these in the base game. Okay, but since these are referencing base game textures, we don't have to do that. We don't have to do anything. I'm going to go to the bottom here of the files. Okay, you can see this is the end of files right here with that / files. Okay, I'm going to paste, and then I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to do the same thing as we're adding info layers. We're just going to tell the system that this is a different number than anything else in the XML. It's going to end up changing this number anyway, so we're not going to be concerned ourselves too much with it. So we got those two textures added in. Now we need the third component. The third component is the weight. Okay, this is where we're going to have to change this file path. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is copy, and I'm going to bring it over here to our map file. I'm going to paste, and again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can add any number of zeros onto this thing, doesn't matter. It has to be a number that doesn't have a file ID up here. So it can't be the same as a file ID above. Okay, now look at this. This says map US Bright Dust weight. Okay, that's not where it's located. Ours is located in, okay, if I can pull up the map, the tutorial, I keep exiting out of that. I need it. Ours is located in map DE. Okay, now there's nothing before this. This dot dot. Okay, this dot dot right here, this dot dot slash for this file path, it says go to the front of the folder and then go from there. Okay, so what this means is this dot dot, okay, so this one is dot dot slash textures slash pine branch dead normal. Okay, that means it's going to the front of this folder, and now it's at the front now, so it's saying, hey, I want to go to textures, and then what was that? Pine branch dead. That should be, yeah, pine branch dead. There it is. That's where it's located, right? Okay, but since we don't want to go, we don't want to go to the top of the folder. We just want to go. We want to start from where this i3D is located, which is right here in the maps folder. Okay, we want to start our file path off from there. You can just click. You can just go. I'm going to start here, and then I want map DE. So I'm just changing this to map DE right here. So I'm assuming in the Millennial Farmer map. Let me. Let me open that quick just to demonstrate. It says map. Yeah, it says map US. So yeah, their weight file is located in map US. Their actual physical map, the i3D file that we opened in Notepad++, is located here. So it's basically saying, hey, just look in the same file that the physical map is located in. Okay. I don't know if I can make that any clearer than that. I know that's a little bit confusing, but file paths absolutely matter. Okay. And if you get this file path wrong, it's not going to work. Okay. All right, let's go to the third dimension. Let's file save that, by the way. Let's go to the third dimension, which is fourth dimension. Sorry. Fourth dimension of this. Go down here. We're going to copy this line. Copy. Okay. And we're going to go to our layers. Okay. And I'm going to put it at the top. Actually, yeah, I'm going to put it right here at the top. This is how it's going to show up in Giants Editor, by the way. It's going to show up at the top of this list, okay? Which will completely, remember we painted by textures, or we painted by spline last lesson. Well, that's going to change the order now. So this is now, bright dust is now 0, rough dirt is now 1, okay? I'm going to get rid of that T in there. It's supposed to be 1T, okay? So now look at this. This is referring to detail map ID is referring to, it says 77. Add those 5 zeros on the end of it, but that's referring to our diffuse texture right here. We just added. And then 78 is referring to normal, 76 referring to the weight. Okay, so that's going to say that right. Move this out of the way. So it's 77, 78, 76. Okay, normal map, detail map, weight map. Okay. Now remember we added 5 zeros onto the end of them, so we got to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Haven't messed with any of these attributes or priority or distance. I haven't messed with any of that. But I'm assuming that that'll factor into like combined layers and other stuff. So I need to mess around with that part a little bit more. But for our purposes, you likely won't be editing those lines at all. Okay, so we got this all added in. That's perfect. We're gonna file save. Okay, then we're gonna exit out of this. We don't need these anymore. I'm gonna exit out of our physical map because we need to reload the map now that we got a new file. We changed the actual map in Notepad++ instead of in Giants Editor. Then we need to open it up here. Take a sip of water. Perfect. Now when we go in here, textures should be bright dust right at the top. Bright dust 0, 1. Okay, now I'm going to paint this down. It works perfectly. Look at that. If it does not show up, you didn't do your file paths correctly. Okay, now let me show you something else. Let me show you, okay, let's see, the console map that I'm working on was given to me, the base map was given to me by Lancey Boy, very nice of him. His textures, his terrain textures are located, some of them are located in his texture file. Okay, I guess it's mine now that this is my map technically, but this is where they're located. So you can see that asphalt 01 diffuse is located in here. Okay, so if I go to the map i3D, the file path is going to be completely different. Oh no, wait, here it is. No, don't open that. Notepad++. So let's see what the file path looks like. So let's find asphalt 01. So the normal maps, his normal maps are pointing to the base game normal map, but I reckon his diffuse is different. Yep, his diffuse is located in the textures file. Okay, so if you so his located so his mod map is actually located at the actual physical front of the file. You know, whereas I had to go into maps to find my i3D, my map i3D, and his file structure is way different. So his is located here at the front of the file, and so now your file path doesn't have to have that ... at the beginning, right? What's another map I can look at here? Marksville. I very idiotically did not know that Bright Dust was a base game texture, so I added it into the map physically. So we should be able to go open to the Marksville map, Bright Dust. There we go. That's in terrain. So that should be, I should be able to go in here. Okay, this is where the i3D is located. Terrain. There you go. Bright Dust is located in terrain. The diffuse and normal textures are located in here. Okay, so it all matters. File paths matter where your, it matters for our purposes to tell Giants Editor and the game where these textures are located. If you're going to bring a custom texture into your map, a custom gravel texture that you've edited or something like that, which we haven't gotten into, but maybe you have, you just need to make sure these file paths are reading correctly. So like, this is Marksville, so there's got to be a ... there's got to be a foliage folder in here somewhere. Let's do ... flash. There we go. So yeah, okay, so I'm using deco foliage, for different foliage textures that I've integrated into the map. And so instead of referencing the base game, I'm referencing a custom foliage folder that I have baked into the map. And so we're doing this ... okay, instead of like a $ data, okay, we're going to ... foliage ... / foliage, which means foliage is located at the front of the folder. Go back to the front of the folder. That's where foliage is located. All the deco foliage is in here. Okay, the reason why I'm reiterating this so much is this is the main reason why people screw up adding stuff like foliage, adding stuff like these ground textures, adding new ground textures for their fields to make their fields look different. This is always the part that they screw up. So that's why I'm reiterating it so that you know what you're doing. Okay. So we got that all added in. In fact, I don't reference the ground textures, like what the fields look like. I don't reference the base game ground textures. Let me show you that really quick, because you might be interested in changing that. It might be something you want that's different. Okay, so open this back up in Notepad++. This lesson should be really titled like a brief overview of file paths. Okay, see how this is not like the base game ground texture, right, for the fields. If you want to change the field textures, there's a number of different ways you can change what it looks like when it's sprayed, when you put manure on it. This is just what it looks like when it's cultivated. So the cultivated and plowed textures are combined, so this is what they look like. That's what the cultivator texture looks like. So you can add a number of different textures for that, but we're going to do ground_diffuse. Okay. So I've put this under ground textures. So the diffuse texture, is there a ground normal? Do I have a ground normal? No, just diffuse. Okay. So you could just change this texture right here. Tell it to reference the base game instead. Or, reference these ground textures that I've added into the map that you're probably going to be using. So this is under ground texture. Yeah, there, the ground diffuse and ground normal. Perfect. See how easy that is? So you can change textures for different things, but just by changing the file path. Okay. But we'll get into that more in depth. I just wanted to really focus in on that because people screw it up way too much. And getting file paths correct is like the first step, and then people will come to be like, no, I got the file path correct, and I'll look at it and be like, no, you didn't. the slash marks are the wrong way, you put in something spelled wrong, like just make sure you get it perfect, and go slow, don't rush. Okay. So that covers adding that extra texture layer into the map. I suppose we need to, I should brief aside here, show you what's happening with the combined textures. Sorry, I keep having to open this. I just keep exiting out and be like, oh, I'm done with that thought. So let's go to combined textures. So remember, these are combinations of these single layers, okay? And how this looks among the weight files, see, the only one that has combined right here is grass rough. So this is a combination of 4, because I painted with this grass. I painted with this right here, right? So this is a combination of these 4 images. Okay, that's how they changed it in this game, or in this iteration of Farming Simulator compared to the previous. Okay, so like, let's say my grass, I wanted instead of this grass 02, I wanted that bright dust texture. I don't really, that would probably look ugly, but I would just copy and paste this title, the title of that texture. I'd bring it out down here and I would just replace this in here. Now it's Grass Town and then bright dust. And that will show up when you paint with the combined layer, Grass Town. When you paint with this combined layer in all caps right here, Grass Town, it will have bright dust mixed in with that. Okay, so like some of you might want to, I'm gonna undo. Oh, I don't need to save this. Some of you might want to, might want to add like mud or puddles or dirt into your texture and like combine bright dust with mud with rough dirt or something like that. You can create a combined layer that way. You just have to make sure those layers are detailed in that combined layer line in the XML, if that makes any sense. Okay, so we covered adding paintable textures into the map. Now finally we can actually do street spline constructor and crossing constructor and get that integrated into the map, so you guys can actually have roads to drive on. And then once we finish that, we will have officially finished like all the difficult stuff, all the difficult scripts. And now I'm telling you guys, it's like smooth sailing from here until like farmlands and field dimensions. So this is going to be like the in-between period that's going to be really fun. And you're going to be designing the farms, you're going to be importing objects and buildings and everything. And then after that, it gets complicated again, because we'll be animating stuff, we'll be getting things functional, we'll be adding in seasons, and we'll be experimenting with new foliage textures, whole bunch of stuff like that. But now things are going to get a little bit more fun. So, all right, I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the next lesson, guys. Keep on map making. It's coming along. I'm sure I can see it from here, from my computer. I can see your map. I can envision it. It probably looks great. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Bye.